Are you tired of feeling stuck constantly pointing fingers at everything and everyone around you? Your parents, your boss, the economy, society, we've all done it. But what if I told you the biggest obstacle in your life isn't out there, it's in here, in the stories you tell yourself, hustle, in the excuses you've made so often, they've started to sound like facts. Because here's the truth. You can't build your future while holding on to blame. You can't move forward while pointing backward. This video isn't about guilt or shame. It's about freedom. Freedom that comes when you take back control of your mind, your choices, your direction, when you stop waiting for the world to change and start changing yourself. So if you've ever felt like life just happens to you, today, I want to show you how to take your power back, starting right now. What? We live in a world that teaches us to look for villains, bad bosses, unfair systems, toxic friends, and sometimes those villains are real. But here's what nobody tells you. Even when you're not at fault, you're still responsible for what happens next. That's what owning your future really means. It's not saying it's all my fault. It's saying it's my responsibility to decide what I do from here. That mindset is what separates victims from victors. It's what separates people who stay stuck from those who build something greater out of their pain. Let's break this down. Point 1. Blame feels good, but it keeps you weak. Be honest. It feels nice to have someone to blame. It relieves the pressure. It makes the story simpler. It's not me. It's them. But every time you blame someone else, you hand them the steering wheel of your life. Think about it. Think about it. If your boss is the reason you're miserable, then your happiness depends on them. If your parents are the reason you're lost, then your direction depends on them. Blame doesn't fix the problem. It locks you inside it. Taking ownership doesn't mean you caused the problem. It means you're claiming the power to change it. The moment you stop blaming, you stop waiting, and that's when growth begins. Every time you blame someone else, you're giving them control. Your life, your choices, your happiness, all temporarily in someone else's hands. That's why blaming feels safe at first, but it secretly keeps you powerless. True freedom begins when you reclaim that steering wheel and decide the direction yourself. You can't move forward while pointing backward. The past is done. The people who wronged you, the missed chances, the unfair situations, all of it is behind you. But when your focus stays backward, you're stuck at a crossroads. Growth, opportunity, and fulfillment are ahead, but only if you turn toward them. Stop waiting for the world to change. Stop waiting for perfect conditions. Stop letting external forces dictate your life. The moment you decide to break free from excuses and blame, you take the first real step toward owning your future. Stewart. That's where transformation begins. Not tomorrow, not when someone else acts, but now. Point 2. Your past explains you. It doesn't define you. Maybe you had a rough childhood. Maybe you made bad choices. Maybe life threw things at you that no one should have to face. But hear me out. Your past isn't a prison. It's just context. You can honor what happened without surrendering to it. The past can teach you or it can trap you. That depends on whether you keep reliving it or start rewriting it. Every story has pain, but pain is only permanent when you give it permission. The question isn't why did this happen to me? It's what can I do with it now? When you start extracting lessons instead of clinging to hurt, the past becomes a tool, not a cage. Point 3. Responsibility equals power. You want to know the real meaning of freedom? It's not doing whatever you want. It's realizing you are the one who creates your response to anything. That's what responsibility really means. The ability to choose your response. You can't control what people say. You can't control how life unfolds, but you can control how you interpret it, how you act, and what you build from it. That's power. That's ownership. That's how ordinary people become unstoppable. Point 4. Growth starts when excuses end. Here's a hard truth. Excuses feel protective, but they're just comfortable cages. They sound like, yes, they sound like, I don't have time. I'm not ready. It's not fair. But underneath every excuse is fear. Fear of failing. Fear of trying. Fear of finding out you could have done more. And that's the paradox. You're afraid of the truth that could actually set you free. People who own their future aren't fearless. They just stop negotiating with their excuses. Next time you catch yourself saying, I can't, stop and ask, is that true or is it just easier to say? Point 5. The turning point is honesty. Before you can own your future, you have to own your reality. And that means radical honesty, not with others, but with yourself. Ask yourself, What habits are holding me back? What stories do I keep repeating to avoid taking action? What am I pretending not to see? That's uncomfortable, but that discomfort is where growth lives. The truth hurts, but lies destroy. And self-honesty is the foundation of every transformation that lasts. Because you can improve a version of yourself you refuse to see clearly. When you stop running from the truth, something amazing happens. You stop fearing it. And when you stop fearing it, you start using it. That's when your past becomes your teacher, your pain becomes your motivation, and your mistakes become your blueprint for change. That's how ownership begins, not in a moment of inspiration, but in a moment of brutal self-awareness. When you finally stop hiding behind blame, you start seeing how much potential has been sitting there, waiting for you to claim it. You realize you're not broken. You've just been distracted by stories that made you feel powerless. But now, you're stepping into a new story, one where you're in charge. Let's keep going. Ahadi. Point 6. Ownership rebuilds confidence. Every time you take responsibility, even for something small, you prove to yourself that you can handle life. You rebuild self-trust, and that trust is everything. Confidence isn't built by avoiding mistakes. It's built by surviving them. By saying, yes, that was my fault, and I can fix it. Each time you do that, your inner voice gets stronger. It stops whispering I can't and starts saying, I've got this. You want to feel powerful? Don't wait for people to believe in you. Start keeping promises to yourself. That's how confidence grows, through consistency, not comfort. Point 7. Your mindset determines your direction. People who live in blame see life as happening to them. People who live in ownership see life as happening for them. That tiny shift changes everything. When something bad happens, a victim says, why me? An owner says, what is this trying to teach me? One mindset sees obstacles, the other sees opportunities. And here's the twist. Both are right, because your life follows your focus. If you look for reasons you're powerless, you'll find them. If you look for ways to grow, you'll find those too. For real, your mindset is the lens that shapes your entire reality. And until you change that lens, nothing around you will ever look different. Point 8. Stop waiting for perfect conditions. Here's something nobody likes to admit. Most people don't fail because they lack potential. They fail because they're waiting for the right time, the right opportunity, the right motivation. But life doesn't reward waiting. It rewards movement. Ownership means acting before you feel ready, because ready is a myth. It never comes. Growth always feels messy, uncertain, uncomfortable. But that's the irony. The moment you stop waiting to feel ready is the moment you become ready. You don't build confidence first and then take action. You take action, and that's how you build confidence. Point 9. The world doesn't owe you, but it will reward you. This is where most people get stuck. They believe life should be fair. But fair isn't the same as equal, and fair doesn't mean easy. When you take radical ownership, you stop asking, why won't life give me what I want? And start asking, what can I give to create what I want? That's when things change, because the universe respects effort. You start to attract opportunities that match your energy. You stop feeling invisible, because your actions start speaking louder than your complaints. The world doesn't owe you, but it notices when you show up with discipline, humility, and ownership. Point 10. Forgiveness is part of ownership. Taking responsibility doesn't mean carrying endless guilt. It means freeing yourself from resentment, including the resentment you hold against yourself. You can't build your future with dirty hands holding on to the past. Forgive others, yes, but also forgive you. Because ownership isn't about punishment, it's about progress. It's about saying, yeah, I can't change what happened, but I can change what happens next. Forgiveness clears the space for growth. And growth is what ownership is all about. Point 11. Ownership turns pain into purpose. When you own your story, every scar, every regret, every failure, you reclaim the power those moments once had over you. You start realizing your worst moments can become your greatest teachers. Your setbacks can become your training ground. The people who inspire the world aren't the ones who never fell. They're the ones who kept standing up and saying, this is not the end of me. And here's the beautiful part. Once you learn to own your pain, you begin to help others do the same. Your scars start to serve a purpose bigger than you. That's when responsibility becomes legacy. So let's bring it all together. Blame keeps you stuck. Ownership sets you free. Your past explains you, but it doesn't define you. Excuses protect your comfort but destroy your growth. Honesty is the mirror that rebuilds your power. Confidence comes from action, not perfection. In your mindset, that's the steering wheel of your entire life. You don't have to control everything to own your future. You just have to take responsibility for you, your reactions, your choices, your effort. That's where real transformation begins. Because the moment you stop saying it's not my fault and start saying it's my responsibility, your life starts moving again. That's the moment you go from powerless to powerful, from passenger to driver, from victim to creator. So here's your challenge. Starting today, stop pointing fingers. Every time you catch yourself blaming someone, pause and ask, what part of this can I control? What can I do right now? Because that's where your future begins. Not in excuses, not in waiting, but in ownership. If this message hit you hard, it's because deep down you already know it's true. You've always had the power. You just forgot where you put it. So pick it up again. Own your story, own your choices, own your future, own your future. And if this video helped you shift your perspective, hit that like button, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe for more raw, real, and relentless mindset content. Remember, your life changes the moment you decide it's yours. Go beyond blame and start building the future you deserve.